welcome to my home gym, also known as the Stevens Living Room. Thank you for filling out the survey and providing some feedback. I think we'll do some technique talks, which is something lots of people were interested in. So I've come up with a beginning list so far, and it may grow. Please feel free to have some discussion, provide feedback, ask questions, any of those types of things. And hopefully we can use the next few weeks or as much time as we have, and we can get everyone out on the water a little smarter, a little faster, a little better, and all those things. So this is sort of the start of it. I've dusted off and cleaned off the old erg from the basement, and didn't even set my drag factor, but it's 120 for men, 110 for women. You can play with that a bit if you'd like. That's the testing numbers that Rowing Canada recommends for the high performance group, but of course you can set it at whatever's comfortable. There are some workouts we do at zero drag, and there are some of the max stroke workouts we do at max, which is about 190. So we'll do some stuff in that. I can talk about that on another thing as well, the drag factor. I actually thought today we might start with the catch. On the water, it's a pretty significant part of the stroke because it's where you catch the water, of course. And on the erg, there's lots of things to also consider. It does take out the actual blade placement, but there's sort of a lot going on in all parts of the body that are in play at the catch, so I thought we might start there. So you can strap your feet in and join along, or you can watch and then go ahead and practice on your own, whatever you'd prefer. These will be here for your watching pleasure. So at our catch position, we want to make sure that our shoulders are in front of our hips. So our shoulders are closer to the stern, that our hips are closer to the bow to put us in that really strong position. One of the things that I was taught this past week in Mexico was a great example of this. So if you're going to stand up from this position, it's real. Actually, I can't. It's really hard for me to do, and that's because my glutes and quads are not in a position to be able to help me in my standing. And so for me to be able to get up from a seated position, I actually bend forward, put myself in a really strong position with my core, with my glutes and my legs, and from here, now I can go ahead and stand up. So why don't you try that to start? Figure out where your positioning is in your body. Maybe in front of a mirror is best, but that's pretty hard to do. That's a hard ask, I understand. Figure out where your body position is, where you are, that you can stand up. So what that shows you is that your shoulders need to be in front of your hips. So the same thing goes for the catch. We want to be able to be in a very strong position. We want to be able to activate the glutes, the quads. We have to stay really strong through the core when we take the catch. So some things to watch for and some general tendencies that people have. One is when they get to the catch position, maybe their shoulders are still stacked on top of their hips instead of in front of their hips. So what they do to get more length is they lunge for the catch. So you round over your back, or you put your legs wide so you can reach through. There's a few different ways people do this, but what the problem is the other thing is really overextending the shoulders. So you want to, as you're coming forward, shoulders in front of the hips, put your shoulder blades in the strongest position. So not too overextended forward, back and down a little bit, shoulders away from the ears. Your handle height is going to be at the cage or at the top of the erg cage, just so that you're not going too low. The problem we have when we get too low, which I don't mind when people do, but the tendency is that when you've come in low, now your shoulders and your back, you go from your hips first because you're coming up. So you get sort of into this, that might be exaggerated, but you know what I mean. So if you come in too low, you have to scoop to come up. Whereas if you come in high, you don't waste any time here, now you're just going. Another thing we get asked a lot is sort of your heels. My heels come up so that I can get my shins to perpendicular. So the goal is to get your shins to perpendicular so that I can activate those big muscles. So you don't need to go too far. I can barely even do it. It depends on ankle flexibility. And again, there's ways to be able to see how flexible your ankles are. You can stand with your foot 10 centimeters away from the wall and see if you can get your knee to touch the wall. That's one way to do it. But ankle flexibility is for sure part of it. General flexibility is another part. Just again, something to be aware of and something I find I watch a lot, but I talk about a lot as well. So trying to get your shins to perpendicular to the floor or the water. So shoulders in front, shins perpendicular, shoulders not overextended but in a strong position. So now you want to make sure your core is engaged, because what happens if it's not is option A is my bum goes but my handle doesn't. And the other option is I try and go with my upper body before I've pressed the legs. So from here I talk a lot. One way is to think about pushing the hips back first so that your shoulders stay forward. Another option is think about pushing the thighs away from the stomach so you maintain that same thing, or you maintain that same posture. And another one is just to think about holding your upper body nice and still. So finding that set position, and then as you start the push, my handle is moving at the same speed. Every time my seat moves, my handle moves. So there's no jerking, it's nice and relaxed, I'm picking it up every time. So try and do a few of those. I do it with the athletes. I usually do 5 short, so that's 2, call that 3, 4, 5, and then 2 long. So we'll go to 5 short, same thing. Watch the shins to vertical. Watch that the body's staying still, the thighs are pressing away from the core is nice and strong. Not too much tension, shouldn't be too hard. And 2, I don't know how many that was. We'll do that one more time. Okay, getting the shoulders in front, picking it up, nice and strong through that core. This is 3. Now there's actually no tension here. Because I've done the 2 long, now it's picking up. So maybe wait, it's probably best to wait until the tension picks up. So go for 2. So the ticket is, on the ones when you're taking full strokes, you're not changing what you're doing than on the short strokes. Again, my handle's coming in nice and high. No movement from my shoulders or hands around the catch. Got the front end. Shins to perpendicular. Shoulders in front of the hips. Relax, not jerking. The last thing I want to talk about in this piece is the heels. So we want to connect the heels as soon as possible and hold that connection through the heels all the way to the finish. You never want to lose that connection from your heels to finish that nice strong. But that starts up at the catch. So the first thing you do is try and get your heels connected as you're pressing. Same thing like a squat, you will do it on the heels. You're bringing in that whole posterior chain. Glutes, hamstrings, joining with those quads, really getting those big muscles moving. Can stay connected. So watch the heels too here. Here, press. Connecting those heels. Shoulders in front. There's technique tip 1 for you. Hope you've learned something. Give that a try. And we will see you again. Provide feedback. Let me know how that was for you, what resonated with you, what was new, what was different. let's work together on this so we can all get better.